Nashville Public Radio serves Middle Tennessee in many ways, every day, including through this podcast. You can support it by leaving a review or rating, by telling a friend about it, or by contributing at WPLN.org/give.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's October 23rd, 2025. On this day in 1923, the U.S. government issued a patent to Sebastian Hinton for a playground invention he called simply climbing structure. It used standard, easily available materials, sturdy metal pipes joined together to make a three-dimensional grid of cubes. He'd done all the calculations to determine the appropriate reach for an average-sized 8-year-old, and from that, figured out how to arrange things so that a kid climbing around could be challenged, but not too much, and so that kids could scramble over the pipes in multiple directions. In the narrative portion of his application, Hinton described his apparatus as providing, quote, a kind of forest top through which a troop of children may play in a manner somewhat similar to that of a troop of monkeys through the treetops in a jungle. Yeah, that's right. He invented and patented the monkey bars. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Play equipment often seems so simple and straightforward. A square set of monkey bars is just a bunch of open cubes, right? But Hinton went to great lengths to think about what distance would constitute a reach without requiring a child to make a jump from one rung to another, about making sure there would always be other crossbars close by for a kid to grab onto if they felt a little unsteady, or even about the range of muscular and joint motions that a child would be likely to use while playing on his device. His goal was to get kids to exercise without thinking about it, to play in a way that would be very good for their bodies. Now, I grew up in a time when full-on monkey bars were still standard playground equipment. In fact, back in the 4th grade, 3 of my friends and I had a club that met exclusively during recess at the heart of the monkey bar structure, perched together, sometimes hanging upside down as we discussed the very important business of our sticker collections. And so it stands out to me when I look at the patent application for the original monkey bars that Hinton specified a detail I don't ever remember seeing on any playground in my youth. At the bottom, he said there should be rope netting as a safety measure, just in case a child fell. And of course, children did fall. He went to such great lengths to make sure a kid never need jump from rung to rung, but I can tell you there was always at least one daredevil out there who tried to figure out ways to do just that. And so the monkey bars turned out to be one of many old-school play structures that racked up who knows how many broken bones back in the day. Probably some concussions, too. Which is why you rarely see them around anymore. But that level of detail and thoughtfulness that Hinton tried to put into the initial design for his climbing structure and his attempt at being proactive about safety still very much exist in the world of children's play areas today. The state of Tennessee has certain regulations now regarding play areas for kids at daycares and schools. And there's probably more detail to it than you might realize. For instance, state regulations say that when there's time for free play at a school-administered childcare program, there should be enough materials or toys that every child has at least 3 options to choose from at any given time. That goes whether they're indoors or outdoors. And there has to be an outside play option if they're in childcare for more than 3 daytime hours. But falls are definitely taken much more seriously than they used to be. If the ground underneath a playground structure hasn't been covered in that manufactured surface, it's got a lot of give to it, you've got to have mulch, pea gravel, or sand. And there's a whole matrix in the regulations for determining how deep each material should be. 6 inches if it's mulch, 8 if it's sand. And that goes for a 6-foot zone around the structure, too. The standards get really specific in some ways. But the state isn't figuring out those details from scratch. It takes those standards from the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission and an organization called the International Playground Safety Institute, or IPSI. Now, poking around in state code, I couldn't find any laws that required compliance with these standards for play areas that are not part of a licensed educational facility. So it is something of a buyer beware situation for families just out and about looking for a place to let the kids let off some steam. But those standards are available online, so folks can take a look and familiarize themselves with what is considered a reasonably safe and protective play environment. But of course, when I think back to the days when my kids were at that age and the nonsense that I still saw some daredevil children getting up to, even though their equipment was much safer than what I had growing up, I'm reminded that 8 inches of sand and plastic or wooden play structures with substantial railings can only do so much. The most important safety feature, just like back in the early days of the monkey bars, is an adult keeping watch who isn't afraid to tell a kid, hey, no, get down from there. In just a few minutes, a suite of music inspired by a Rob Zombie classic. That's coming up after the newscast.
Here's the mantra I think about at WPLN. We connect the dots. It captures a mindset that our journalism is not merely about the latest press release or proclamations by officials. Instead, we can develop expertise, dig deeper, and look to history to understand what's happening now. I'm Tony Gonzalez, news director. When I'm planning coverage and editing stories, the best part is being part of a team that's curious about our community and invested in its future.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Tennessee employers sponsor thousands of H-1B visas every year for foreign workers in specialized occupations like healthcare and engineering. President Donald Trump imposed a new $100,000 application fee for H-1B visas last month. But on Monday, his administration started carving out exceptions. WPLN's Rose Gilbert reports.
The initial announcement sparked panic at airports in September.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the captain speaking. Due to the current circumstances, obviously, that are unprecedented for us here at Emirates, we are aware that a number of passengers do not wish to travel with us.
All of a sudden, visa holders who were traveling outside the United States didn't know if they could re-enter the country without paying a 6-figure fee. Nashville immigration attorney Doug Russo says it was a shock.
It was mass chaos.
But now a lawsuit from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has triggered a change in the policy. The Trump administration has clarified that this fee would only apply to new applicants who are not yet in the United States. That's good news for Russo's clients who are already living and working in Tennessee. But he says this change in policy could effectively be the end of this visa program.
I don't expect any employer to pay $100,000 to hire a foreign national H-1B worker. I really think by putting a $100,000 fee on it, it's basically a complete bar of hiring H-1B workers who are outside of the United States.
Some of the top employers sponsoring H-1B workers in Tennessee are healthcare companies, hospitals, and research facilities, including St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And some underserved rural communities rely on these specialized visa holders to fill doctor and nursing shortages. However, the real targets of this new application fee are tech companies, which make up the overwhelming majority of top H-1B recipients nationally. That includes companies like Oracle and Amazon, which have recently expanded their footprints in Nashville. Rose Gilbert, WPLN News.
The Tennessee Valley Authority may soon have new members on its board of directors, which acts as the utility's main regulator. The board has been short-staffed for months after President Donald Trump fired several members. Trump has since nominated 5. WPLN's Caroline Eggers reports that a Senate Environmental Committee held a hearing yesterday for 4 of them.
There's been a really big question on a lot of people's minds regarding TVA. And it was asked by Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts.
Do you support the privatization of TVA?
They all basically said no. But privatization does not have to mean a complete sale of TVA. They could slice the public utility into different bits. So Markey asked the same question with a bit more nuance.
Do you agree not to sell off any of the portions of the service region?
2 nominees indicated they would not, without a firm no. The other 2 suggested that the board would not be the decision maker on any privatization. But the board does hold that authority. The nominees include Mitch Graves, a healthcare executive and board member of Memphis's utility, which made a deal with Elon Musk's XAI. Jeff Haygood is a Knoxville lawyer, Randall Jones is an insurance agent, and Arthur Graham is a utility commissioner in Florida. There was another big question that got heated and reveals a lot about Trump's hopes for TVA's direction. Senator Markey asked, will the 4 nominees commit to TVA's own goal of net zero emissions by 2050, which can be thought of as a version of 100% clean energy? They answered,
that is tough to answer yes or no to.
I think because of the great power need, I think that probably has to be reevaluated.
Can't promise that's going to happen because of the need for power. However, it needs to be a goal.
Is all you have right now.
It needs to be a goal.
It's sad. Yeah. Yes, sir. Jimmy?
I commit to looking into it.
Markey interrupted to say that TVA has just 4% wind and solar, while about half of the utility's electricity comes from the burning of fossil fuels, which is heating up the planet. And TVA's only firm plans for energy expansion in the near term are more gas plants and pipelines. Caroline Eggers, WPLN News.
Trump also nominated Lee Beeman, a conservative businessman from Nashville, to the TVA board. Beeman was not scheduled in the hearing. The latest debate over data centers is playing out in a small town just over the state border in southern Kentucky. From member station WKYU, Lisa Autry reports local officials voted against rezoning land to allow a large-scale data center just off Interstate 65.
Say no to the data center!
Protesters gathered outside the Franklin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday night over a proposed change in regulations that would allow construction of data centers as well as on-site power generation. A developer recently purchased more than 200 acres of land in Simpson County for a data center similar to the one in Gallatin, Tennessee that serves Facebook parent company Meta. Locals aired concerns about emissions and noise, as well as the strain on local water and electric resources. The commission voted unanimously against the plan, which pleased Franklin City Commissioner Dale McCreary.
We're in a geographical location that's very attractive. I mean, we're adjacent to I-65. We have industrial land available. We have some of the lowest property taxes in the state of Kentucky, and I think the commission can be very picky on who we want to allow to come here.
Despite the rejection by Planning and Zoning, the project isn't dead. The Franklin City Commission will have the final vote on the proposed data center. I'm Lisa Autry in Bowling Green.
Tennessee's wildlife and environmental agencies are working together to bring back a species no longer found in the state, the red-cockaded woodpecker. The little woodpecker is considered threatened in the southeastern U.S. and has not been spotted in Tennessee since 1994. The bird's recovery plan was announced during a press conference in Murfreesboro yesterday by Josh Campbell, Chief of Biodiversity at the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. He says the red-cockaded woodpecker was widespread about 300 years ago when the landscape looked different.
I want you to imagine a landscape that was open. So we had open woodlands, we had open forests, we had savannas, prairies. But most importantly, fire was a big component of those ecosystems.
These landscapes have mostly been wiped out by farms, logging, and development. But state scientists recently identified one area as a potential habitat for the bird, the Savage Gulf Natural Area, which is between Murfreesboro and Chattanooga. Tennessee's Wildlife Agency will work with Tennessee's Environmental Department and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on further restoration. They plan to release the red-cockaded woodpecker into the area in 2028. Campbell said federal funding was uncertain, so the agencies are now promoting a fundraising campaign. Details about how they would restore the woodpecker's habitat have not yet been released. Officials told WPLN News they'll use methods of thinning and burning. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. For Halloween, Nashville indie rock musician Eric Slick released a 5-song orchestral suite covering Rob Zombie's very unorchestral hit, Dragula. The project started as a joke, but Slick took the piece so seriously that it transcended to a work of art. Music reporter Justin Barney has more.
Eric Slick's parents didn't let him watch cable TV as a kid.
They were convinced that it was going to give me brain rot, which it eventually did.
But in 1998, they allowed it. And to their horror, Slick turned on MTV and heard this. Rob Zombie's slasher goth metal hit, Dragula.
It's sort of like Tom Waits singing over an industrial beat about the Munsters.
It's true. Dragula is the name of a car driven by Sam Dracula of the Addams Family.
I bet this Dragula can wipe anything on the strip.
I ask you, is this an automobile or is this an automobile?
Slick went on to be the drummer of indie rock band Dr. Dog.
Where'd all the time go? It
On the band's farewell tour, Slick's wife, fellow musician Natalie Prass, suggested that he make a playlist for the band to play before the show. Of course, his old favorite Dragula made the list.
And then we started playing it all the time at soundcheck. We were like putting it over the PA. We were jamming on it.
At the same time, Nelson Drum Shop here in Nashville asked him to do a jazz show. Dr. Dog member Scott McMicken said, "Why don't you do Dragula?"
Once he gave me that germ of the idea, then it was like the thing wrote itself.
Being in Nashville and having access to some of the greatest session musicians in the world, Slick seriously committed and enlisted a murderer's row of musicians. David Linebaugh, who plays with J. Cole, Lynn Ligamari, who plays with Bright Eyes, Jen Wasner, who is indie favorite Flock of Dimes and tours with Bon Iver, are all on it.
They added a deep amount of legitimacy.
It was done as a bit and for the bit, but it has created a beautiful work of art.
People have been writing to me like, I love Dragula. I'm like, it's a real testament to the less I care about something, the more people are sort of drawn to it. I also think that like audacity in the year of our Lord 2025 like should be rewarded, because music and art and expression are kind of what we have left.
In a political moment where a lot of people are feeling scared to stand out, he said that it feels good to be doing something weird. Something he's not sure AI would even think of doing, and that probably won't make him rich. Something in loving homage to Rob Zombie's MTV classic.
It's not parody, it's reverence. It's reverence for what he made.
From Nashville Public Radio, I'm Justin Barney.
Dragula, a suite in 5 parts, is available on Bandcamp. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. And thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.